Hi there, welcome to 8th grade Earth Science. My name is Rich Battaglia, and I am your child's science teacher for their last year at Wayland Middle School. I'd like to just quickly go over with you in this short video a little bit about Earth Science and what the kids are going to be studying this year, and some learning goals that we have for them, kind of some student work expectations, and just ways you can kind of keep informed about your child's learning in science class. So this year in 8th grade is all about the study of the planet Earth. So Earth science is kind of looking at how all of Earth's different spheres function and how they interact with each other. So we'll start the year with an astronomy unit that we're currently in, where we're looking at the movement of the Earth, Moon, and Sun in space and how that causes things like moon phases and eclipses, seasons, and tides. Later on this fall, we'll take a look at plate tectonics and look at how Earth's continents and land masses have changed and continue to change over long periods of time. We'll also take a look at, in our geology unit, different ways the Earth's surface changes through weathering and erosion, ice ages, rivers, wind, and how rocks form and stuff like that. So that kind of wraps up the first part of the year. The second part of the year, as we head into late winter and into the spring, we'll take a look at Earth's atmosphere. We'll look at climate change and how our climate is changing due to various factors. Um, we have a weather unit where we'll look at specific types of weather systems, things like storms and cold fronts and warm fronts, and how all different types of weather in our atmosphere is created from heating from the sun and water cycle kind of movements. We finish the year with an astronomy unit. We come back and tie it all together, and we look at Earth in its place in the universe. We'll look at the solar system, galaxies, and the universe to kind of close out the 8th grade year this year. This year is as much about learning Earth science as it is about kind of learning. And with these students in particular, we want to make sure, given the closure and the hybrid schedule last year, that they have um, learning goals that will be kind of useful for them as they head into high school. Um, so I told the kids on the first couple of days of school that really the goal of this class is to help develop them into strong thinkers and problem solvers. That's what's going to be required of them when they go off to whatever career they choose. It Learning is less about regurgitating information and more about learning how to solve problems, how to collaborate with others, and work together to solve those problems. So those are skills that we really try to foster with some of our hands-on labs that we do in 8th grade science. Another skill that we want to strengthen and kind of come back to is helping kids be able to kind of learn and understand material that they're taught in class during whole group instruction and small group instruction. Um, they had that in bits and pieces through their 7th grade year, and as we kind of get into a full kind of school year this year, kind of relearning those strategies and how best to learn while you're in class, whether the teacher is giving instruction or they're working in small groups. Um, a lot of science weekly. We do a lot of lab work, and a lot of that lab work is collaborative lab work where they're working together and learning those skills and how to communicate with each other, how to work effectively in a group. Those are direct skills that we try to teach as we do those science labs, and we be explicit with them about kind of the expectations of how to be an effective group member, working with a team, problem solving with a team. The last couple of skills is just making sure that they learn how to complete their homework effectively. They learn how to do it on their own, turn it in when it's due. We give them a lot of coaching about that, a lot of reminders, a lot of strategies on how to best be able to do work independently, particularly the weekly science homework, and make sure that it's turned in when it's due on Friday mornings. And then the last and probably the most important piece this year is making sure that they learn how to seek out that help when they need. That can come in many forms. A lot of kids are more comfortable emailing for help and asking for help through Google Classroom. Um, some kids will ask during class, but trying to coach kids on how to all the different ways that they can ask for help. All those ways are totally fine, but making sure kids leave 8th grade with kind of one of those strategies on what to do when they don't understand something, and how can they seek out help. This year is in last year is standards based grading, and in science class, standards based grading comes in a similar format to you see as many of the other classes. There are two levels this year in eighth grade science. There's a level 2 and a level 3 class. All students, regardless of level, have to demonstrate mastery of the eighth grade science standards. Level 2 students are expected at least to meet standards. Level 3 students are expected to exceed standards on these science essentials. We assess those standards two ways. We have informal, what we call formative assessments, usually every other week. And those are meant to dipstick to see what kids are learning as we go through a series of lessons and labs. And it's also a good way for them to check in to see how much they're actually taking in through instruction that I may be giving them or group work that they may be working on. We have kids do these formative assessments as many times as they need in order to meet standards. At the end of each unit, we'll do a summative assessment, usually in the form of some sort of unit test. These typically come every month or month and a half. I give students and parents and guardians a heads up in the weekly science newsletter I've been emailing home every Monday. And just like a formative assessment, if kids don't meet standards, they're expected to revise and reassess those standards that are not met. So, what does a week look like in the life of an eighth grade student? As you can see in those pictures there's always some sort of collaborative group work. In these pictures here, you can see kids building working models that demonstrate moon phases, and they're working together, and they shared these models with the class. Each week has we have a weekly homework that is posted on Google Classroom. Usually I post that Sunday evening, and that is always due Friday morning. So there's always one assignment on Google Classroom for science, and we give the students the week to complete that. Within that assignment, we break it up into chunks. Some kids still need help kind of figuring out, okay, how much should I do on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday? But we rather than giving an assignment due every day, we find that it's better for the kids to have a weekly homework as they have in previous years. The week will usually start with a teacher-led kind of focus lesson on what we're going to be covering that week, whether it's eclipses or moon phases. We'll do some turn and talks, some pair work. And then later on in the week, we'll do a group lab activity that kind of focuses on solving a problem related to those essentials. Like you see in the pictures there where kids were building a working model to share that demonstrates moon phases. Part of that week is also independent or partner practice of the essentials for the week. And then we also look at, we'll have a review and then we have a formative assessment. We try to keep the weeks looking pretty similar. That way kids can get into the routine and kind of know what the structure of the class is kind of through each week and from day to day and from week to week. Level 3 assignments. These are assignments that are open to everybody. I just want to quickly kind of go over this with you. So level 3 thought questions and assessments are usually offered, and these are they're seen as a growth tool. So these are assignments and questions and problems and assessments that ask students to take what we've learned in class and apply it to a new novel situation. So it's a lot of critical thinking, kind of that goes beyond the standards that are expected for all students. These are open to all students, regardless of level. Students in level 3 earth science classes are required to complete these. Level two students also have the option of doing these. I post them on Google Classroom. I go over them with them, and it's an optional assignment for them. And kids that typically are looking to move up from level 2 science to level 3 science, either for 8th grade or 9th grade, this is one of the prerequisites for that course there. So these are all posted on Google Classroom if you'd like to peruse them with your child. I do give a heads up in the class newsletter as to when I am assigning those. Things you can do to kind of stay connected this year in science. Each week, usually on Sunday night, I try to send out an Earth Science class newsletter that'll have what the weekly science assignment and homework is, if we're going to have any assessments that are coming up, if there's any level 3 or exceeds work that students can do. And I try to also preview content that we've covered in class the past week and that we'll be covering the upcoming week. If students begin to miss assignments or have any specific issues related to your child, I'll reach out via email. I know you also get, many of you get the reports on Google Classroom. I do send out a detailed progress report 4 times per year on how students are performing in relation to the standards in terms of their homework, their lab work, um, their check-ins, and their unit tests. So the first one I'll send out probably in November, and I'll send out another one in January, and then another one in March, and then another one at the end of the year. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. I think the best way is by email. That's the most likely way that I'll get it during the school day when I'm teaching. Um, if you have any questions about anything regarding your child, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you very much for watching, and I have enjoyed this school year. It has been nice to see the kids 5 days a week and not have to teach on Zoom, and I think the kids are appreciating that as well.